afternoon and welcome everyone. I want to welcome all of the elected officials that are here today. Appreciate you being here. Department heads and staff, so thank all of you, and of course all of our citizens that are interested in their county government. Appreciate all of you being here this evening. So just a note again about cell phones, just a reminder to turn those off so that you aren't embarrassed during this session. All right, so this is the July 25th, 2023 Hardin County Fiscal Court regular voting meeting. So let's begin, and I'll call this meeting to order. Okay, let's have a roll call.
Squire Clem.
Here.
Squire Hicks.
Here.
Squire Muse.
Here.
Squire Pennington.
Here.
Squire Saltzman.
Here.
Squire Thompson.
Here.
Squire Whitehead.
Here.
Squire Yates.
Here.
Judge Tall.
Here. Okay, we'll have our invocation by Magistrate Saltzman and our Pledge of Allegiance by Magistrate Muse.
You bow your heads. Father God, we thank you for this day that you've given us. We thank you for the beautiful sunshine. We thank you for this county that we live in. We thank you for this country that we live in. I pray right now for our soldiers who are defending our freedom. I pray for this court as we prepare to do the business of our county. Pray that you would guide us and direct us. Pray, Lord, that you would be with us as we make these decisions, and everything that we say and do would glorify you. Father, I pray for this afternoon as we finish up your business, Lord, and just watch over us all, keep us safe and healthy as we go back home. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so thanks again for joining us today and participating. I'll just do a quick review, as I usually have, of the agenda so that we all know what we're getting into today. We'll have the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. We don't have any informational items as such today, and we'll have a couple of presentations to go through. We'll have a time of citizens' concerns and comments. We have two ordinances that we will vote on today, both second readings of those ordinances. And then we have our consent agenda, which is a fairly typical one, and then some comments at the end. So that's pretty much it. And so let's go ahead and get started. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our let's see, this would have been from July 11th fiscal court meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'd have a roll call, please.
Squire Clem.
Yes.
Squire Hicks.
Yes.
Squire Muse.
Yes.
Squire Pennington.
Yes.
Squire Saltzman.
Yes.
Squire Thompson.
Yes.
Squire Whitehead.
Yes.
Squire Yates.
Yes.
Judge Tall.
Yes, motion passes. All right, next will be some department reports, and we're going to start that with our 911, Mike Leo, Director.
Good afternoon, Judge Saul, members of Fiscal Court.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Here to present the activity report for the month of June for the 911 Center. Then there's some year-to-date information. BK, handle the wheel here. 911 calls answered, 5,609, 11,637 CAD reports created, answered 5,645 administrative calls. Dispatched the ambulance service 1,514 times. Dispatched correction, 478 fire runs, handled 2,466 attempt to serve, prisoner transport, and traffic stop type calls, and 37,257 NCIC and link transactions. Just a breakdown of calls with service by agency, EMS at 36.3%, Radcliffe Police at 29.1%, Sheriff's Office 15.4%, and then the other agencies we dispatch for, you can see their percentages there. Next slide. Fire runs by department, E-Town with 34.6%, Radcliffe 17.8%. And you can see the remainder of the fire departments, there's 14 of them that we dispatch for, their percentages there in the pie chart. Calls transferred to secondary sites, these are secondary law enforcement agencies in the county. Total calls transferred 755, 624 to E-Town Police, and 131 to Kentucky State Police. Now for year-to-date comparison, 5-year comparison year-to-date from 2019 to 2023. These are CAD events created. You can see there's been a significant increase of events that we created in our software to handle calls. Next slide. Total 911 calls received, also 5-year comparison from 2019 till now. Also show there an increase of a couple thousand. 911 wireless calls received, 5-year comparison from 2019 till now. Little increase there also. Administrative calls, so a major increase there from the year before. This has to do with the bringing on Radcliffe and Vine Grove back in December, handling all their administrative calls. Self-initiated events. These are calls, traffic stops, paper service, stuff like that for law enforcement. Occasionally fire and EMS, they self-initiate themselves on certain things, but you see a major increase there. This is also has to do with traffic stops that Vine Grove and Radcliffe Police do in their paper service. NCIC and link transactions, a lot of new people here. NCIC and link transactions is pretty much a database we use to run tags and enter warrants, see emergency protection orders, and items like that. Right there you can see from the years prior we have a major increase there, 225,000 transactions in just the first 5 months of the year. And a lot of this has to do with also the Radcliffe and Vine Grove paperwork that we did for them. And that is it for my presentation. Anybody have any questions for me?
So taking over some of the duties then for Radcliffe and Vine Grove, that's been one of the big impacts on some of those big numbers that we saw.
Correct. Majority of that is, Sheriff's Office does also maintain 90 to 95% of the calls for service in the county instead of forwarding those to state police. So that they have an uptick also, but majority of that is the increase of the Radcliffe and Vine Grove.
Any other questions, comments? All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Detention Center. And that's Josh Lindblom.
Squires, have y'all missed me?
Jailer.
Did you miss us?
I did. Can't you tell? All right, June 2023 at the Hardin Detention Center. Always busy. In business as usual. You can clear to the next slide. Oh. All right, if you look at the lodging income for the month of June, it's $449,267.07. Intake for the month is 592, and release for the month is 588. Average daily population is 669. The billing is state and county. Of course, Magistrate Clem has already accosted me about this, but July and June is the months where people get out most of the time when they serve on the parole. So some of the state inmates have got out. So it's first time in 5 years we've had more county prisoners than state prisoners. So that's your breakdown. All right, charges. 52 operating under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Assault 4th degree, 18. Possession of marijuana, 18. Violation of a Kentucky EPO or DBO, 7. Non-payment of fines, 40. Theft by deception, cold checks is 6. And shoplifting, 6. Burglary, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd is 7. Robbery, 1st or 2nd, 1. Assault, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd is 6. Possession of controlled substance, 54. Flagrant non-support, 7. Trafficking illegal substances, 20. And the weekend total is up to 87. I'm sure that's helping out the court system a lot because it seems like it's moving a lot quicker now. Inmate hours worked, 14,207. And of course, you know, with just the Hardin County hours plus our agencies right there inside this county and stuff, it's 14,207 hours worked. Medical, outside appointments 35, emergency room visits 8, nurse visits 1,074, medical requests 127, hospital admissions 4, inmates on medication is 300, which is down by about 40 since the last report, so that's always a great thing. Average hours per run, 1.67 hours, and average 5.03 hours per run total, 40.25. Alright, so inmate road trash cleanup program. Of course, you know, there was a lot of work done at the fairgrounds, so there was 2,699 bags of trash picked up on the streets of Hardin County, and 121.8 miles of roads, so that's a pretty good number. Of course, the inmate work program has been pretty hot and heavy. They did a lot of work at the fairgrounds this month, cleaned a lot of cemeteries, trying to get them ready and stuff, just kind of winterize them a little bit, but cleaned a lot of that properties off and did some different work around the county. Just to let you know, the work programs were actually highlighted yesterday and some of the stuff we talked about in front of the Jail and Prison Reform Task Force Committee in Frankfurt yesterday. So they were pretty impressed with what we had to say. So it's one of the counties that's actually pretty hopping when it comes to inmate work programs, and that's something that Lewis has started years ago, and it's really just built up and snowballed since. So it's been a big help. So, any questions?
No, Josh, I don't think we've seen you here since you were, received your distinction of Kentucky Jailer of the Year. So, just want to publicly recognize you and give you allocates for that distinction.
Well, I took my plaque and a dollar over to McDonald's. They got me a cup of coffee the other day, you know, so that really helped out a lot. But I appreciate it. You know.
Yeah.
But it is humbling. I mean, we've got 118 judges across the state, and it was pretty unanimous. So I was pretty happy with that. So
I think you're probably bigger than all of them, though, right?
what's that?
I said you're bigger than all of them, though.
Oh, you'd be surprised. So, sometimes I get scared around some of them fellas, you know, and some of them ladies.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thanks again for, you know, the work over at the fairgrounds. I know it turned out pretty good this year, so.
Yeah, I think I think the fairgrounds look, you know, better than it ever has, and I tell you, you know, I don't think the fair board gets enough credit for the work they do. They're already starting to plan the next fair, so that's a lot of work that goes into it. And you know, about 30,000 people got to come and enjoy the fair right here in Hardin County, so that was a big thing. And there was people as far as Minnesota, Oklahoma we talked to, so it was a pretty big event. So. No?
Yeah, I agree. The fairgrounds, the work that you guys did, the road department, the fair board, all the work that they did, and thank you for allowing me to ride on your cart the other day and showing me around. That was.
I hope I didn't scare you too much.
Oh no, I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. But yeah, kudos to the jail the way you guys got out there and worked and worked for us. And like I said, the road department and the fair board, everything looked great out there. It was a great fair. It's something for us to be proud of.
And if you drive by there now, you wouldn't even know there was a fair there. So that's
Right.
pretty cool, you know. So, appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. All right, so there's a couple of written reports in the packet on planning and one from our clerk. So those are available. Next on the agenda is the citizens' concerns and comments. So I would like to discuss that just a little bit before we jump into it. Since there are several citizens that have signed up to discuss the zone change item on the agenda, we will hear a few comments on this topic, then vote on the ordinance 334. And we'll basically duplicate what we did the last time that for the first reading and this process. And we will hear public comments for and against the map amendment request. We will then vote on the second reading of ordinance 334 that approves and amends the zone change request from rural residential and convenience commercial to heavy industrial, approximately 1,030 acres. This application to Hardin County Planning Commission by Stonefield Solar Project was denied May 2nd, and the first reading of this ordinance 334 passed 5-4 at our June 27th fiscal court meeting. If the ordinance passes, then the application is approved, obviously. If it fails, we will then vote on Resolution 138 that denies the zone change. Since there's been about a month since the first reading and plenty of time to think about it and to research this zone change, I will duplicate the comment time from June 27th, which allows up to 10 speakers alternating between against the zone change and for the zone change. And those comments can be up to 3 minutes per speaker. So a total of about 30 minutes. Note that we still need to hear some new information or at least some clarification of the information that is helpful to this court. Okay, so at that, first up at this time, we'll have a person that wants to speak against the zone change first. If you'll state your name and where you're from.
Gotta get my cheat notes out, excuse me. I'm Larry Jaggers II. Live in the Glendale community. So, just want to say I'm a farmer, I'm a landowner, and I'm a former commissioner of Hardin County Planning and Zoning. So I'm going to quote from the comp plan. It's the comp plan, quote, lays out the vision for the future growth and development of the community, what the community will be like and look like in the future, and then serves as a guide for community decision, provides policy and program guidance to promote the community's vision. When I first got on planning and zoning, I was told by a senior member as he was stepping down, as I was coming on, that the decisions that were made, that I would make, that we would make, would affect the county more than any laws would. So I took that to heart. I do want to state this, though. I want to state that I do support landowners' rights. But however, I do encourage landowners' responsibility. It has been said that the current owners are non-farm owners and would like to take this opportunity to realize a great business deal for this property. And I do support that land needs to stay in farm production, but know that the ground is many farmers and landowners' retirement plan. But again, with this right, there's much responsibility with this property. My wife and I own around 200 acres in Glendale, and we farm around 500 of our family farm. Now, I know I have the rights with my land, but I do have the responsibility to provide for my family and other families. Also, I have the responsibility as a farmer with how I work it and use my land. Now, I wanted to talk about the zone change more than the proposed use, but however, if it wasn't for the solar being proposed, we wouldn't be having this discussion tonight. So here's my concern. Here's my concern. I want you to think about. In the past, many farmers and landowners had opportunities that did fail with these, I'm going to quote, big money opportunities. These enterprises come around. For those who remember, we remember red wigglers. We remember the ostrich farms. And just recently, hemp production. And hemp production, which had support from the state and federal legislators. And you need to remember that the hemp processors gave big monies for support of these many events, including National Farm Machinery Show, other large events, promotion and giving and donations and everything. Unfortunately, they ran out of funds and couldn't pay the farmers and landowners that raised the hemp crop. So they were left without money, and that's my concern on this. I remember my first zone change meeting of this type, and I was unsure. I was unsure about that night how I was going to vote. And however, I voted against the change because we, or even I, didn't know enough about what was going to happen. Also, the comp plan has uncertainties about this type of business. So let's let the process finish. Through the power of internet, I went back and watched the hour of the planning zone meetings that you all watched and noticed the uncertainty among the debates that were made, along with the uncertainty of the interpretation of the plan, and even the reaction of you all watching. Because the same feeling I had that same feeling in that first meeting. So be patient. Keep in mind that if you change this thing to I-2, you will not see it go back to R2. 2 lines. And it can be addressed. It can be addressed later on. So if you have any doubt, just keep the decision of the planning and zoning staff and the commissioners and look at it more into the future. If this solar opportunity is solid, then it will be there after the comp plan that's more suitable for it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why it's called planning and zoning. Let's make sure the plan is solidified, and then we'll discuss the zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker for the zone change.
Good evening. My name is Susan Buchanan Augenstein, and I live in Owensboro, Kentucky. I'm one of the owners of the Buchanan Farm. My late father, David Buchanan, some of you all may remember him, was not a farmer. He was in real estate his whole life. But he grew up on the farm, and it was always a special place to him. I think often, and I mean often, of what would he think of all of this? Would he be pleased with it? Would he be making the same decisions? And I feel like the answer is yes. When he was older and could no longer drive, my sister and I would drive him around town. He would want to take rides. And every single time he would want to go to the farm. Every time. And we would take him down to the farm and he would look around and spend time there. He called the farm down home. He'd say, I want to go down home. Anyway, I know that my dad would want the farm to stay in the family, and this would guarantee that. I know he would be happy of the possible project with Candela, the possible program with the community college. He would love for us to be a part of the promoting agriculture education. So on behalf of my whole family, I sincerely hope that your vote tonight will support our rights as property owners and our wishes to honor the legacy of my father, my aunt, my uncle, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and my great-great-grandparents. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker against the zone change.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Houston Howlett. I'm a resident of Glendale as well as a farmer, and I operate within the south central region of Hardin County that'll be strongly affected by this. So one of the issues that I think is being raised by the question of what we do with this property is how do we see the growth of this county in the future? With the development of the site in Glendale that it's having an imminent effect on me and my business. What kind of values do we see moving forward with the land and the development and what direction we're going? So we're talking about putting this land into an industrial zone, and solar has been the topic of discussion. My concern is that now we have approximately 1,100 acres of land that is now going to be zoned industrial, that if it doesn't go to solar panels for whatever reason, we now have 1,100 additional acres of industrial ground that could potentially be developed into something that the county may not be able to withstand from an infrastructure standpoint, especially. I'm currently dealing with those issues in my region with the lack of infrastructure associated with Blue Oval. So the other thing that we have to consider is the idea that we are in the process of creating a comprehensive plan that is in the works right now that is taking into account the growth that is occurring in this county. The comprehensive plan right now that we're making a decision off of does not consider that growth and the impacts that it can have. We're making a premature decision by allowing 1,100 acres to become zoned industrial, and by making this decision without reviewing the new comprehensive plan. It's a premature decision. We need to wait and see. That comprehensive plan will help decide what direction the county is going to go, whether or not we need industrial development to continue throughout the county, in that area of the county. And if we do, that comprehensive plan will help lead to where that should go. So we are shaping the future of our generation, of the next generation, by deciding the impact of this 1,100 acres. So I urge you to consider voting against this for the future of the county, for the future of agriculture, for the future of the rural communities that exist currently. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker before the zone change.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jeff Rivera. I'm from Grayson County. I grew up here most of my life, but I currently live in Grayson County. I'm a professor and program coordinator of the electrical technology program at Elizabethtown Community Technical College. So I just want to talk a few minutes about some of the benefits that this would provide for ECTC and our students here in this county, as well as many surrounding counties. Through this zoning change, it would allow, and we've been in talks already with the developers and landowners to create a educational partnership with the college that would allow our agriculture program, which is limited in space, space for growing crops, space for raising goats and sheep and different types of animals there on that property as well. So through this partnership, we were going to be able to provide that opportunity for those students. So our agriculture program, who is coordinated by Ben Smith, who wasn't able to be here this evening, he's been working with them to be able to develop that and be able to set that up to help maintain the property, as well as provide a location for us to be able to do that. Another part of this project is through this zoning, it would allow us to have an educational facility there. One thing we've been working on at the college is to build a ranch-style house that would have 2 finished classrooms in it, as well as a shell of a residential ranch-style home. So that would allow us to continue to use that structure to be able to wire learn how to design circuits, wire houses, and all the different types of components that you find within a residential structure. So we'd be able to utilize that structure if built on that property for that. So we'd be able to then also create more space at our school to allow us to expand other programs that we have there at the college. So that would benefit the electrical program, the electrical technology program, the HVAC program, the agriculture program, as well as some other programs that we have there at the school that are degree plans. So with that, ECTC is in favor of the zone change, and we hope you take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Trina Martin. Live in Cecilia. I appreciate the opportunity to be before you all tonight, and I have 2 points that I would like to discuss that I don't think have really been brought up just yet with you all. It is the fact that Blue Oval SK has located to Hardin County, but to say that our county has not anticipated nor planned for it is simply inaccurate. The land was rezoned approximately 20 years ago. Since then, our county has been methodically planning for its future and ours. We would not have the mega site overlay within our comprehensive plan, nor the Glendale industrial element, if we had not been planning for our future, because this land was already rezoned. We knew something was coming. Our current comp plan does address and support supportive industry, and if we can get through the current update, it will address the next future of Hardin County. Unfortunately, this is not allowing to update to happen or to address such issues and delaying the process even further. Blue Oval wasn't here prior to our last adoption of our comprehensive plan, but the land that it sits on, it was zoned industrial and has been for quite some time. Using Blue Oval as a basis for your decision may open a Pandora's box that we won't be able to close, as every zone change will be argued our comp plan did not anticipate Blue Oval SK and invalidate our public policy, the comp plan. Do we really want to set a precedence of that here this evening? This project has stated that they expect property taxes to be paid. Wait a minute, I skipped part. I knew I did. So my second point, let's talk about tax revenue. You already heard in the videos that you guys watched the testimony of the deficit to tax revenue between this project and as it is right now currently being farmed. If that didn't catch your attention, let's talk about another possible future of this current zone. This project has stated the total property taxes to be paid over a 40-year lifetime of the project is $6.7 million. The average property taxes would be approximately $167,000 annually. Ranch Hollywood, which adjoins this property in question, very similar in land characteristics, is 144.2 acres, which includes roads, easements, floodplain, etc. That means that approximately 7.1 Ranch Hollywoods could be on this site, 721 homes, with a 40-year taxable income of $59.9 million for the same life of their project. Wouldn't it be more fiscally responsible to leave it as it is? Think about how the housing demand is right now in our county, and Blue Oval people haven't even came here. Think about that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Debbie Buchanan Wharf, and I'm one of the owners of the Buchanan Farm with my brother Jeff and my cousins, including Susan that spoke earlier. A lot of people have stood at this microphone and they've shared their thoughts about, what needs to be done about the Buchanan Farm. Some of them think that we should either keep farming it or subdivide it into residential lots and sell it off, or sell it off so someone can build a factory on it. As far as farming is concerned, that's great. That's been our life thus far. We want to keep doing that, but think about how that usually goes as farms get passed down from generation to generation and the ownership interests continue to split. There are 5 families who own it now, and in the next generation, it's going to be 11. This is a difficult problem that has caused angst for families all across this country. We have an opportunity to proactively address this. Rezoning this farm gives us an opportunity to lock recurring risk-free income for the long term. And we can do that without tearing up or selling off the farmland. All while we can let animals graze and regenerate the ground. A solar project allows for the possibility of continuing to farm this land in the future. As far as subdividing it and selling it off for residential development, that's not what we really want. A lot of other people want us to do that so that they can make money on building, selling, and financing a bunch of new houses. But we don't really want to sell our land. We don't want the permanent disturbance that would come from residential development. Look at what's happened along Cecilia Smith Mill Road, where all those new houses have gone in on that farmland. Keep in mind that my family didn't oppose that development, although now it is being used to oppose what we would like to do. As far as selling it off to build a factory, that would create a ton of jobs. But we don't have a scarcity of jobs. We have a scarcity of workers. But I'm glad people bring up this topic because it sort of proves our point. This ground is well suited for industrial zoning. The 9 points in this ordinance speak for themselves. We absolutely want this industrial rezoning. It will enable us to do what all of us have agreed is right for our farm and our family. And it's very likely the best shot the next generation has at still having a farm to pass down to their kids someday. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Don Sexton. You probably don't know me because I don't know very many of you. And standing here, I can't recognize you. So I can't even go look at your pictures. So what I'm going to be talking about is kind of from the heart a little bit. And one of the things that I've done in life is I've been a pastor. And so many times when we look at scriptures, we can find things in Scripture that will help us make decisions about the things of life. The first I want to talk to you about is what I call the parable of the sower. Many of you have studied Scripture, you know about the parable of the sower. You notice I don't have any Bibles here or anything to read it for you, so you're going to have to bear with me and hope I quote it to you correctly. The first thing about the parable of the sower is the guy went out to sow some seed one day. He sowed the seed on good ground. He sowed the seed on some rocky, hilly ground. And then he sowed the seed on a pathway. Now, Jesus went on later to explain that parable, but I want you to stop and think about as we are thinking about our county and sowing seeds, because at one point, we were calling what we're talking about here really tonight, farming. So these folks are coming into our community and they want to sow some seeds. They want to call them panels. And just as you heard earlier, we have heard throughout our county, if you've been a farmer in this county very long, and I have been a farmer, right now I'm retired, we have had so many things come into our county that was going to be our salvation for our farmers. And just as you heard from the other gentleman, they're not here now. They're gone. They did not work out. I raised hogs for 15 years on our farm. You want to know what happened to the hog market? It went down to 8 cents a pound one year. I'm out of the hog business. I've been filling in my lagoon. I've been trying to figure out how to get rid of the buildings because I can't raise hogs anymore. Physically, I can't, but there's no money in it. There's very few hog farmers left in this county. There's very few dairy farmers. I used to own a feed mill. Our biggest customer base was dairy farmers. Along about 1990, a little bit later in my life, I guess, some things happened. First thing I did was I ended up going into the ministry about that period of time. But God told me that there was something better in life than what I'd been doing. And so as we moved forward, life changed. God has directed me in so many different ways. And if you pass this ordinance today, you're committing this county to a direction that we cannot return from. The hemp business is gone. The hog business is gone. The dairy business is gone. Very few beef farmers left. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sam Avery. I live over the line in Hart County. I'm a former resident of Hardin County, Elizabethtown. I still own property here and I pay taxes here. I'm also a former member of the Hart County Planning Commission. I was a vice chairman of that. And I've also been a solar installer for 12 years. I'm no longer doing that though. Now, I'm here tonight not to speak for the company that wants to develop this solar project. I'm here because I believe we're in an emergency. And I think that passing this ordinance to allow this project to go forward is an emergency measure. Now, this is a slow emergency. If you pay any attention to the weather over the last year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, I think you know what I'm talking about. Think of what the weather is doing now, right now, all over the world. Think of what it was like 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And then think what it's going to be like 10 years from now or 20 years from now or 50 years from now. Now, the people who know the most about what's going on with the weather did a pretty good idea predicting what would happen. The only mistake they made is it's happening a lot sooner than we ever knew it would happen. And these same people are telling us now that by 2050, 27 years from now, we have to stop using all forms of fossil fuel. No more gasoline, no more coal, no more natural gas, none of it. How are we going to have refrigeration? How are we going to drive cars? How are we going to have fuel? How are we going to travel? How are we going to heat our houses? We have to find another way to produce energy. That's why this is an emergency. Now, I think there's something very good about developing large-scale solar. There's something pretty bad about it too. I don't like looking at those panels either. Even though I'm a solar installer, I would much rather look at corn. But the problem that, the reason why this is not a major problem is we can take an emergency measure and learn how to produce our electricity directly from the sun, and if it doesn't work out, and it looks like this isn't going to be the best way to do it, we can go and we can pull those panels right up and put them away and go in another direction. So that's why I think we need to do this as an emergency measure, and if it's the wrong way to go, we can reverse this if we have to. Thank you very much.
Judge, Magistrates, I'm David Broderick. I have represented the Hardin County Citizens for Responsible Solar for some period of time. First and foremost, on their behalf, I want to thank you all for taking the time to look at the very extended hearing we had in this matter. I know it took you some sessions to do it. And there are a couple of things that I want to point out for you in that particular situation. First and foremost, you have an excellent planning and zoning staff here. Adam King and his staff do a wonderful job for you. And you should keep in mind, with his credentials, with his training and his experience, he recommended that the application that's before you be denied. That was his recommendation to your Planning and Zoning Commission. Your Planning and Zoning Commission heard it at length, as y'all have, and they decided, and we believe appropriately, that this application was not consistent with the comprehensive plan, and it's not. As many times as they tried to argue that night, it was very clear it was not part of the comprehensive plan. It is not part of the comprehensive plan today. I think you all know that there's a revision coming to that, and perhaps the cart is before the horse in that situation. But what you have before you is you have a reasonable plan. You have your professionals that have recommended that this is not consistent with the plan. You've had the citizens that you chose to be responsible and educated. You sent them to programs to be educated about how best to do planning and how best to do zoning. And they felt that this should not be approved. I will simply say that when you consider the application, this is land that is the best farmland in Hardin County. It was found to be that at the hearing. It was not disputed. This is land that immediately adjoining to it has 114 new homes. It has developed residentially. It has developed agriculturally. It has not developed industrially, as they would suggest it would be. Point blank, they're asking for a heavy industry zone. You know from past history, there is no provision in Hardin County at this time for solar panels. They have suggested that this is manufacturing. I suggest to you that perhaps a comprehensive plan that's coming in the future will resolve those issues and how they can do it. But this is a way, I suggest to you, that is not consistent with what you've asked your professionals and those people you trust to make decisions for you to do. I clearly think that there was no suggestion that it was consistent with the comprehensive plan. So if you have that fact that is uncontroverted in the record, I suggest to you that you need to vote down the ordinance tonight. I do need to bring up one other thing, Judge, and it very quickly. I had written a letter to you and your county attorney on July 13th and had raised an issue that I thought Magistrate Muse perhaps had a conflict. His daughter, Aubrey Muse, works for the applicant, and he also had a solar lease. I would simply like to file that letter with the record, and I thank you very much.
Judge, I'm not sure if he misspoke or if it's in that record, but I don't believe Aubrey Muse is his daughter. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that that record did not reflect what you said. Thank you.
And I was incorrect, Judge. Thank you for correcting.
Sure, no problem. I just wanted to make sure that The official record was correct.
It does say niece on here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. Okay, we have one more speaker.
Good evening, Fiscal Court. My name is Kenny Rambo. I live in Cecilia. I am a local business owner and the father of 6 children. So if I seem tired, it's because I am. If I seem concerned about the future of this community, it is also because I am. I live about an hour away from this particular site, and I am in support of the zoning change and the subsequent project. The ordinance before you is a very interesting one because it gets to the heart of 2 very important matters for our community right now. Number one, the tremendous growth and change that lies before us, in large part because of the Blue Oval SK2 battery plants that are being constructed as we speak in Glendale. Secondly, it points out that our entire county, not just specific districts within the county, have a responsibility to help us to respond to that growth, to capture the opportunities to that growth. However, opponents to this zoning, they maintain that for some reason, Cecilia and its surrounding magisterial district should somehow be excluded from the change that we are all facing. I think that that is a little unfair and maybe even a little disingenuous. I'm not certain why we want to protect a single district from change in response to the growth that we're facing, but the reality is all of your other districts are facing and embracing that change as we speak for the benefit of the entire county. Magistrate Thompson, your district will soon be home to the 10th largest manufacturing facility in the world by square footage. And why? So that our community can benefit with 5,000 incredible jobs and the economic impact that it will bring. Magistrates Clem, Magistrate Pennington, your districts are facing right now somewhere around 5,000 recently applied for multifamily homes. And why? So that we can provide the future workforce that will push this county forward. Your districts will face the greatest population shift, one that would really had never been imagined in this community before, but you're stepping up to that call right now. Magistrates Whitehead, Magistrate Muse, Magistrate Yates, you guys have long been the neighbors to Fort Knox, and certainly changes of afoot there. We will soon see the Dagger go online at Fort Knox, and as a result, your districts will see more military activity from a training standpoint than we have in decades, and with that, the sounds of freedom that mean that our country is being protected and that the training is being provided so that we can be safe and free, all happening right here in Hardin County. Certainly a point of pride for us. And Magistrate Muse, your district is facing additional home starts that feed the amount of change and growth that's going on all around you, be it Fort Knox, Blue Oval SK, or even Nucor in neighboring Brandenburg. The reality is we are on the precipice of a tremendous amount of change as a community, and it would seem disingenuous for us to select one district that's not responsible for that. Please include my district in the growth and opportunities for this community by approving the zoning ordinance. Thank you. A correction, I live minutes away, not an hour away. In fact, I used to have an arm that would have got one there.
Okay, I think that's all of them, right? 10? Okay. All right, thanks to, oh, I'm sorry. Do we have any more?
No, it's 10.
Okay, I think that was it, right? That was 5?
That's 10.
Okay. All right, so thanks to all the speakers. Everyone did a good job, so thank you very much. And so at this point in time, is there a motion to approve the second reading of Ordinance 334, 2023, that approves the zone change?
So move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Anybody have anything to say? I do, but I'll give you opportunity to start.
I'll go first.
Okay.
This decision is years in the making, and we have the opportunity to make the right choice for our county and for the needs of our businesses and residents. During this hearing, we've heard much from both sides about the pros and cons of this zoning and this project, but I think there's one finding of fact that warrants this body's consideration, that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, and social nature within the area involved, which were not anticipated in the adoption of the comprehensive plan and which have substantially altered the basic character of the area. No one on either side of this decision would dare say that Hardin County is the same today as it was in 2004 when the initial comprehensive plan was adopted. Further, we are not the same as we were when the comprehensive plan was updated in 2008, 2014, and 2019. It is also important to note that the comprehensive plan provides concepts for future growth, but contrary to the metaphor often used, this is not the Bible for all decisions. While I have the utmost respect for our outstanding planning and development staff and the commission, the comprehensive plan we are considering today is an imperfect plan that was outdated the day that it was printed, because our county is in a continuous state of change. I respect the perspective of our Planning and Development Commission, but now that this has come before us, the Fiscal Court, we must be committed to do what is best for Hardin and all the residents we represent based on the information presented. I don't think anyone here can deny that there have been significant changes to Hardin County since the last comprehensive plan update. Off the top of my head, the Blue Oval SK, $5 billion twin battery plants in Glendale, and others noted in the video are major developments that affect the economic nature of this area. This doesn't even include the unprecedented growth that we've had within our municipalities, reviewed by their respective planning and development commissions. One thing that is clear, more industry, more businesses, and more housing means more demand on county services and the power that keeps the lights on. I think it is fair to say that this is not your grandfather or your grandmother's Hardin County. Heck, it's not even your parents' Hardin County. At the rate we are growing, Hardin County 2030 will be unimaginable to many of us today. I have no intent to bemoan this, but I want to make it clear that major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature have indeed taken place within this area which were not anticipated in the adopted comprehensive plan and which have substantially altered the basic character of the said area. During the hearing, some have said, and even today, some have said that because of the changes we are experiencing, we need to wait until the comprehensive plan is updated before considering any development. We cannot set a precedent of kicking the can down the road. When it comes to businesses and individuals who are investing in our community or building their future home, time equals money. The landowners and the businesses in this situation, in my opinion, have followed the appropriate procedures after 2 years of meetings with planning and development, as noted in the video, and by all estimations, they have done their due diligence, and we should as well. With that said, there are clear findings of fact to support our overturning of the Commission's denial of the zoning change, and they are listed in the ordinance that we are voting on today. Thank you.
Judge, I will speak from my heart. I moved to Hardin County 49 years ago. What drew me to Hardin County was the character of the people. The character of the people who wanted the very best for those who lived there and would also welcome people who came alongside them. I felt very welcomed. I became what I considered very quickly, in my mind, a native, but you're never a native if you're not born here. That's many of us. The big concern that was talked about a great deal was how can we establish a community where we can retain the best and brightest? How can we provide a community that will provide a high level of living for our children that would cause them to want to remain here and contribute to Hardin County? Many efforts have been made over the years to bring things to fruition that would cause that to happen. Almost in every case, there was division among the people about how to best do that. But we didn't stop. We continued to address the need. Look around you. If you don't know the people in Hardin County, we have some of the finest professionals in the world who were students in my school, who now reside in Hardin County. and are able to make a high level of living because of the circumstances that have been brought about in this county with some thinking toward the future. Much has been put into the future. We have people that contribute to this county and are so devoted to it with that same character of the work ethic of the agricultural community that made us what we are. I'm proud of that. Agriculture needs to continue to be a major component of who we are because people, city slickers, you guys just don't know what it means to work hard. Unless you've been on a farm, I'm telling you. You sick? You stay home from school? You work. That was my experience. I was never sick if I could keep from it. And there are days I probably begged to go to school so I didn't have to stay home and work while I was sick. We did everything to make a living on a little tiny family farm. That's changed. Agriculture now is a business, which, if you want to stretch it, it's a manufacturing business. Anything that produces a product or a service generally goes through some sort of manufacturing process. And this has nothing to do with our comprehensive plan, because apparently a judge has decided that because solar was not written out, it needed to be, and I think that may be why we, by law, have to be dealing with this today. I'm not certain of that, but that's my impression. The law requires this. It doesn't require us to sustain the commission or the board that we trust highly and place a great deal of faith in, the people who put the work into the current plan. And it is an effective plan because it's brought us this far. It also has some loose ends. If somebody can prove to me that the industrial overlay was taken out, then I'd like to have it done. Because as I see it, that industrial overlay was part of the planning for whatever might come for Blue Oval or whatever. And it was established. Now, for someone who has a plan in place, but you decide, okay, we don't want that there anymore, it's just not there. It's there. The law gives us the responsibility, fiscal court, to make this decision. It needs to be done based on the law and the finding of facts, 9 of which are pointed out here. As time has gone on, there have been others that have been pointed out here too, that perhaps were not really thought through. There's been additional information come forward that maybe the commission did not take into consideration. We're charged with making a decision with all the information we've gathered. The information points toward a preponderance of the facts calling for this to be passed. That's all I have to say.
I have lived here all my life, almost 74 years. I grew up in Hardin County. I grew up on a farm. This is really, I think I've got an ulcer from this whole thing. It's really, really bothered me to see this kind of change coming into Hardin County. The gentleman who got up here a while ago mentioned every district except my district, how it was going to help all those districts. Well, you know what it's going to do? It's going to destroy District 7. It's going to destroy my district.
I'm sorry, no comments from out there right now, okay?
The people that's here, I met with 3 families Sunday afternoon, and I've been doing this since this started, since I became on fiscal court and this solar thing came about. The biggest part of the people in this district and in this county does not want solar here in Hardin County. Nothing is good about solar. You can't prove to me that anything is good about it. And what if, all this stuff that you all said, what if they put the solar panels in here, and what if something does happen? And what if it destroys our water system? What if? What are we going to do then? You're going to say, oh man, I wish I'd have done something different. I wish I hadn't have done that. The lady that got up and talked about her father always wanted to go down and see the farm. I don't think he would want to go down there and look at nothing but solar panels. I don't think her grandfather, great-grandfather, and great-great-grandfather would be here wanting solar panels put on that farm. I think it's a sad day in Hardin County when we come to this. I grew up in Hardin County, like I said, and I remember going past the Buchanan farm all my life. It always stuck out to me as being one of the prettiest farms up Highway 62. I grew up down at Eastview, and I always remembered that, and I was thinking back, fond memories of it. Used to be a big, tall windmill there, and I always remember that windmill and that farm. And to just think of our kids and our great-grandkids and our great-great-grandkids, they're not going to be able to experience Hardin County like I did. And that breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart that these kids today cannot grow up in a place like Hardin County was when I grew up. And I will vote no on this today.
Judge, if I may address. I know Larry just mentioned he's against solar energy. I didn't even want to say the word solar throughout any of this, but it's come down to that, obviously. I do want to say I am not and have never been against solar energy. I come from the electric utility industry, spent 31 years working for a local co-op, and I promoted solar energy. I promoted renewable energy, green energy. I'm not against solar, but my decision is not based on solar energy and renewable energy. I think that solar's great, and I think there's a place for it, and my decision is based on the respect of the decision that was made by planning and zoning. And I believe we should let them complete their plan. It will be ready here in just a few months. And I guarantee you they'll probably have some applications out there for land uses for solar energy, because yes, we need solar energy. If we're to sustain our utility needs, our electric utility, we need that energy to sustain what we will require in our daily lives, especially with the influx of citizens coming into our community. But I believe we should let our commission do their job and show them the respect that they deserve. Thank you.
Judge, if I may. Now, this decision has been a very difficult decision. Any which way we go, there's going to be people upset. There's been a lot of emotions come before us. But what I've learned is, if some people are not going to make a nickel off this property, then they're opposing. If we're going to put houses on it, then a lot of people would be for it. You know, when I ran for office, I spoke about property owners' rights. I have a hard time telling someone that's owned a farm for 200 years what they need to do with their property, especially when the land around it is already industrial. the Elizabethtown Industrial Foundation. The middle of the property's got industrial property on it. I just find it very difficult to tell them what to do with the property. A lot of people came up here, and at the end of the day, if it was houses that they could sell, they would be fine with it. And that's not right. But I appreciate everybody. It's a difficult decision, but I will be voting in favor of the property owners and their rights, just like I said I would do when I ran for office.
Anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and go. First off, I want to say thank you for anybody that has voiced their opinion to me, whether it was against or for. I can say without a doubt, not a single conversation was not cordial. Every conversation was very genuine. Everybody expressed their concerns, whether it was for or against, in a reasonable manner, and I think that that's a part of this process that's very, very important. Chris just said it, this is, if anybody thinks that this was an easy decision or is an easy decision, I don't know what you've been looking at this entire time, because it is not easy. I've spent many nights, I know Larry, you said you got an ulcer, I think I'm losing my hair, but I've spent many nights thinking about it. I mean, I've expressed that to almost anybody that I've talked to, and it is important. It is important to look at the effects on Hardin County as a whole. It's important to look at the future. There's a lot of those important key aspects that we have to look at. For me, though, one big thing that I cannot get out of my brain is the question at hand. Should this property be industrial? And I cannot get it out of my mind. It is 0.4 of a mile from land that was basic, borderline unopposed in the change. It is 1.28 from an industrial foundation. It's touching industrial land. I know that there's an argument about whether or not it's already been there. It's zoned that. It's touching industrial land. If you look at it from a holistic point of view, and you look at it from, if you take the S word out of this entire situation, would it or could it be industrial? And I truly think that it can. And that is what I have struggled with the entire time. Obviously I'm a real estate broker. I understand property owners' rights, and I can see all that, but being elected, I have to put all that stuff aside. I have to look at the question at hand, and at the end of the day, that's the conclusion that I've come to.
Anybody else?
Well, I pretty much stated my position earlier when this was first addressed, but I would like to maybe extend my remarks somewhat. This court has 7 months experience, and yet it's being asked to make the most important decision of its 4-year term. And because of the ramifications of this decision that we are being asked to make today, we all know that to be successful, you almost always have to have a well thought out plan before you even think about moving forward. This court does not have that plan. It's in the development stages, but not yet completed. It's called the Comprehensive Plan for Hardin County. And I just ask each of you to consider the wise words of Judge Kelly Easton. Planning before zoning. Again, planning before zoning. Thank you.
I guess I'll be the last one to speak for the magistrates.
I know there's been some issues brought up with me with a conflict of interest. I didn't take my decision lightly. The attorneys give me the code of ethics that the magistrates look at. I've looked at it carefully, and I do not believe I have a conflict of interest. Talked to our attorney, and she agreed with me, and that's why I will vote on the ordinance today. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I just have a few things I want to explain before we wrap this up and have our final vote. I want to address the various points that are in this ordinance. It maybe provide another view from what's actually in the ordinance. So I'm going to go through. Unfortunately, there's 9 of them. So, but I don't have a book on each one, so it shouldn't take too long. So point number 1 in the ordinance. The Blue Oval SK has located in Hardin County since the adoption of the current comprehensive plan and is within proximity to the application site. And what I have to say about that is that the solar project application site falls within Hardin County's natural resource area and does not align with the recommended land use in the comprehensive plan. Therefore, Planning and Development denied the zone change to heavy industrial. Now, using the within proximity argument is very subjective to me, since the distance is actually about 5 or 6 miles. Would 10 miles or 20 miles, would 50 miles be within proximity? So using this argument then, in any acreage in Hardin County or within 100 miles could be considered close enough to Blue Oval SK to deem industrial zoning. Do we really need industrial zone land to support thousands of companies? We have more than enough land designated for industrial in areas along Ring Road, makes a lot of sense, and even future Ring Road extensions to I-65 and eventually to Lincoln Parkway. We also have south along I-65 and 31W, that corridor, all the way down to the Glendale exit, and maybe even a little further south from that. And we're not even talking about some northern Hardin County options that we have. Obviously need some industry in the Radcliffe area, and that would be very helpful to them. So there's plenty of great industrial locations without extending west along Highway 62. Point number 2, since the announcement of siting of BOSC, additional supportive industries and other commercial and industrial development have located in E-Town and Hardin County, which has decreased and will continue to decrease the amount of available land zoned for industrial purposes. My thoughts on that are that since the announcement of Blue Oval, there have been 19 zone changes within the industrial and interstate commerce areas defined within our comprehensive plan. These total for about 468 acres. All were changed to either an industrial or commercial zone. The available land for supportive industries has not been depleted. Our Planning and Development Comprehensive Plan accommodates industrial growth in a way that will not jeopardize our rural communities. That's what it was there for. Point number 3, that it is sound public policy to make additional heavy industrial property available to sustain economic growth and development in Hardin County. My thoughts on this one. Hardin County's comprehensive plan is our public policy. Even if this 1,000 acres of property were rezoned to heavy industrial in order to sustain growth, why waste it on a massive solar project that only adds 2 or 3 jobs to our county? Wouldn't it be sound public policy if this land was needed for industrial to wait until multiple large companies that actually need rail, and the rail exists on the northwest side of Highway 62 and would provide hundreds of jobs to our county and to our region, or at least see this beautiful land developed into some residential housing. We're going to have plenty of pressure for that in this county as we approach a lot of people moving to this area. Point number 4, that adjoining property, which is also owned by the property owners of this application, is leased to Vulcan Materials, is currently zoned permitted heavy industrial use. My thoughts is Vulcan Materials was already operating before the implementation of the comprehensive plan. The county does not have a mining zone, so the county allowed conditional use permit to allow the quarry to continue operations. This is known as grandfathering, where you allow something to continue to exist because it pre-existed the change in law. It doesn't mean it is an appropriate place for heavy industrial use, but it was already there. The Vulcan Material Quarry is just 187 acres, less than 20% as large as the proposed development. Furthermore, the Vulcan Quarry is not in operation today. No mining is occurring on the property, and Vulcan considers it a dead quarry. Things change. Zone change, ordinance .5, that the subject property is located less than 1 mile from the existing property zone for industrial use. Thoughts on this one is the importance of the property's location is that it is in the natural resource area, which is protected by our comprehensive plan. This area protects our prime farmland and our drinking water. In addition, the major changes within 1 mile of this area have been residential, with the addition of 108 homes since 2012. Point number 6, that the subject property is in close proximity to the existing Elizabethtown Industrial Park, and the Elizabethtown Hardin County Industrial Foundation has expressed an interest in purchase of the property by letter December 26, 2018. Of course, this letter is about 4.5 years old. If the Industrial Foundation was so interested, why have they not purchased the property? Perhaps it was a lack of sewer in that area. Without additional information, it's hard to say. Also note that the parcels that were of interest were not all of the 1,000 acres as you could assume. The land on the northwest side of 62 has the railroad access, which would be more valuable for industry and much less than the 1,000 total acres. Point number 7, that the subject property is located upon the major roadway of US 62 near Western Kentucky Parkway at Interstate 65 and has railway access with adequate transportation infrastructure for industrial use. My thoughts here is that the lack of sewer in this area is problematic, but could probably be resolved if we have enough money to resolve it. Again, if this property is so advantageous to industry, why waste it on a solar project? Also note that this property is not near I-65, but I guess that depends on your point of view. Point number 8, that the neighboring Hardin County School expressed support of the application. This was done, I guess, by John Stith on May 2nd in testimony. My thoughts here, if this property were changed to heavy industrial zone, then there are 21 land uses approved by the county that do not require any additional hearings. It is very doubtful that the school board or parents would approve of some of these uses. John Stith stated, point of order, I am not here to support any particular project. What I am here to testify to is that the school board has no opposition to being neighbors with solar farm. We consider that acceptable and preferred neighbor. So Mr. Stith's comments were regarding solar use of the property, not heavy industrial zone that could accommodate other types of industry. And finally, point number 9. That a joint work session of the Hardin County Planning Commission and the Elizabethtown Planning Commission was held on July 19th, 2022, at which the commissions discussed the importance of the area in which the applicant property is located to continue development and the economic health of the community. There is no documentation or meeting minutes of the above-mentioned work session. Neither commission has provided documentation of that session. However, I did find out that the property discussed was not this location on Highway 62, but actually an industrial zone of land near Ring Road, south of Highway 62. Now that makes sense and is in the new comprehensive plan as an industrial growth area. The Industrial Foundation is actively pursuing land along Ring Road with access to all the utilities. So in conclusion, thankfully, in conclusion, for these reasons and many others, this zone change request by this LLC is not in the best interest of the citizens of Hardin County, and specifically not in the best interest of this rural, prime farmland, natural resource area of our county. It happens to be in District 7, Larry Hicks District, and this is where I happen to also live. We both hear many of the citizens of this district just by being out and living life. And many, many, many people, a vast majority, have big concerns about this zone change request. In this case, the location and direct implications of this project on its citizens and the previous decision to deny this application by the Planning and Zoning Commission should weigh heavily on the decision of this court. It should weigh heavily. That's really all I have to say. That's the reasons I'm going to vote the way I'm going to vote. So with that, unless there's some more discussion.
Question?
Yes.
Calling for the question.
Oh, question, okay. Sorry about that. All right, so let's go ahead and have our roll call then.
Squire Clem?
No.
Squire Hicks?
No.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
No.
Squire Yates? Yes. Judge Tall?
No.
5 yeas and 4 nays.
So there's 5-4 yes. Is that correct? Okay, so motion passes. All right, we will move on now to our next item. And one thing I do, the next item is a second reading and adoption of the ordinance number 335, Series 2023, establishing the updated geographic boundaries for magisterial districts in Hardin County. And before we begin that discussion, I did want to open up if there were any comments, since most of the comments that we were focused on had to do with the previous agenda item. Were there any comments on anything else that's on the agenda here today? I want to give an opportunity if anybody did have something else they wanted to say about a different topic. Okay, seeing none, then we'll proceed. Okay, so is there a, okay, just an explanation again that this is the, if we remember from the first reading, this is a reapportionment commission study, the districts and census data from 2020, and and then they decided to move 1,800 residents from District 8 to District 7, about 1,300 of them, and then to District 1, about 500. Is there a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 335, 2023?
So moved. Second.
So been a motion and second. Any discussion?
Judge, I'd just like to thank the commission for their hard work, thank Brian's office for their hard work. I really appreciate how smooth everything went. I think they had up to 3 meetings and did it all in one, so great job. Thank you to our citizens that stepped up and helped out on that.
Okay, very good, thank you. Anybody else?
I'd like to echo those comments. Brian did a great job, and the commission that he put together, they all came together and did a great job with this project. We appreciate it.
Any other discussion?
And I just wanted to comment, I didn't want to lose any of the voters, but due to the regulation, the district had to be split up, so.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
And I'm glad to get those extra votes.
Any other comments, discussion? Okay, then we'll have a roll call then.
Squire Clem?
Yes.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Tall?
Yes, motion passes. All right, our last item of business today is the consent agenda. It's got a few things. I said before when I was introducing the agenda that was pretty basic, but there are a few things that I'd like to talk about. One thing I want to say, in this consent agenda, item M is to approve resolution number 2023-160, and this is related to contract with the Kentucky Department of Transportation, CB06 Flex Fund Agreement of $468,652, Ford Highway and Shipley Road. And so when I looked at that, I realized that actually requires the ones that voted yes and no on that particular document. So if there's anyone that after we go through here and you think, I can't vote for this consent agenda, or I have a problem, we may want to pull that out and vote for it separately. So we'll just play that by ear, and if anyone feels like we need to do that, then we can. Okay, so the items A through D all have to do with financial reports and paying bills and payroll, some of the kind of typical stuff there. Items E and F, resolutions number 152 and 153. These are related to adopting procedures of issuance of tax-exempt general obligation bonds and
Judge, I would just point out that our bond counsel are here if anyone has questions. I see them. They've sat through this patiently. So, and I know you all came to a committee meeting, but pardon me for interrupting.
Okay.
But if anyone has questions, they're here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. So 153 relates to adopting SEC disclosure rules. Again, this is in regard to the library expansion and upgrade loan. And these are some initial resolutions to start that bonding process and loan process. So, okay. Does anybody have any questions about those two? They covered all of that during our committee meeting and stuff. So.
I don't have any questions, but I'll just go ahead and thank them for coming to the committee meeting and answering any questions we had there.
No, thank you.
Thanks.
The next two are having to do with EMS personnel changes and some updates to some employee personnel policies and procedures handbook. Those are resolutions 154, 155. Resolution 156, again, gets back to some budget and accounting, financial transfers. Resolution 157 is related to rejecting all the bids for remount of a 14-foot Fraser ambulance box. And then Resolution 158 is related to a bid for the Hart Verity Series optical scan voting systems. And I think all of us remember that this is our voting equipment purchase of $367,000. It takes us from 10 to about 18, possibly 19 locations, so almost doubles the voting locations. And our actual expense after we get money back from this is $160,000, and that has been budgeted for this fiscal year. Resolution 159 is related to some job description revisions in our E911 department. I've already mentioned Resolution 160. We're going to get some money, $500,000 almost, much needed for these projects. Resolution 161 is related again to E911 personnel. It's personnel changes. And then the last three are all committee minutes. All right, so that pretty much takes care of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, a roll call.
Squire Clem?
Yes.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Tall?
Yes, motion passes. Okay, so that brings us to some final comments. I'd like to give our county attorney a chance to do so.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
All right, thank you. How about our county clerk?
I just want to say I appreciate the kind words to me, but really the hard work done on the magisterial reapportionment falls on my staff. I want to acknowledge Ashley McMurtry, Stephen Thoreau, and Dave Watson in my office who really, really put in a ton of hours. I also need to acknowledge former county clerk Kenny Tabb, who invested initially in the technology that we're using today. We use that on a very regular basis on our elections department. So thank you all.
Thank you. Okay. So for magistrate comments, we'll start with Magistrate Chris Yates.
I don't have anything, Judge.
Thank you. Magistrate Kenny Saltzman.
I have nothing, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Magistrate Patsy Whitehead.
Just a reminder that the Resources and Community Support Committee meeting will be Monday, August 21st at 3:30, third floor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Fred Clem.
Yes, just to remind the folks that the next Finance Committee meeting will be Tuesday, August the 15th, 3:30. And also, again, remind you of the upcoming Town Hall Forum at West Point. I encourage everyone to please keep that on their calendar and turn out and be the very first one we've ever had. And hopefully things will go smoothly. I talked to the mayor earlier about getting together and trying to finalize the format. So we'll soon have that done and look for everyone to turn out.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Aaron Pennington.
Fred, I think you forgot something.
Yeah, you're not finished, Fred.
You did, Fred.
Come on.
You're not finished.
Oh, yes, folks, don't drink and drive, no text and drive.
Now.
I didn't feel right continuing.
I know, right?
I just wanted to remind everybody Cruising the Heartland is downtown E-Town this weekend. I'll be down there. Come see me. Also just wanted to make a couple of remarks about today and just, you know, the feelings that are involved. I know everybody's passionate one way or another, and I think it's evident that it affects everybody differently, and it's not an easy topic. So I just want to applaud everybody for doing their due diligence, and you know, regardless of the outcome, I think everybody, you know, really put some thought into it. So.
All right, thank you. Magistrate E.G. Thompson.
Nothing, sir.
Okay. Magistrate Larry Hicks.
I just want to tell the Buchanans here that I'm not against landowners' rights. I've fought planning and zoning most of my life one way or the other in business. But when one certain group can dictate to all the other landowners what to do, I think there has to be a line drawn somewhere. When one group of landowners infringe on everybody else's rights, I think it becomes a big issue. So we got a family here that most of them don't live here. They don't have to look at these solar panels. And then we've got these magistrates that doesn't live here, that don't have to look at these solar panels, but the rest of the people in District 7 has to see this every day. They drive by them every day. So I'm really, really disappointed in it, and I guess I'm a sore loser, but so be it.
All right. Magistrate Kenny Muse.
Just remind everyone, the first Friday event at Vine Grove, August the 4th. And it's been a good time down there. I think it starts at 6. And also the Meade County Fair is going on this weekend at Brandenburg.
All right, thank you. All right, just a reminder of our August fiscal court meeting. Our first one in August is August 8th at 3:30 right here in this room. And don't forget about the committee meetings that have been mentioned, and also the town hall that's on the 22nd. Just a note that I will not be able to be there for that first one. I planned on being at every one of them, but this one I can't be. So I apologize in advance for not being there, but I'm sure I'll get some good reports from that. Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, any objections? Hearing none, meeting is adjourned.